Okay. It's recording.
Yay!
Yay.
Um, so welcome to Self Love Society membership inside of our little sacred place. I'm happy to have you here, and I honestly have no idea what you're going to share today, so I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Um, I know there was a few ladies that were excited too because LinkedIn is kind of like just this like thing that people talk about and you want to get involved in, but it's just another thing that it's like, oh, it feels overwhelming to learn a new thing. And
Hmm.
um, but I feel like it's on the rise, and also at the same time, it's like one of the most underutilized
Hmm.
platforms for business owners, or even just like women in the corporate world, because I have women in the corporate world too that are, in the membership. So
Yeah.
I'm so excited about today. Thank you so much for your time and being so flexible with my traveling situation.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I'll just kind of let you take away the floor. And what I do is I take notes as you talk because I don't like to interrupt in case you're like on a roll.
Yeah.
And then I'll just ask questions at the end. And if somebody hops in, I'll add them in, and they'll usually put it in the chat if they have questions.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds good. And since it's just us too, like it'll be a really good opportunity for like, you know, I left some space at the end just for some questions and some like individual support. So
Well,
like I think for you, the fact that like a lot of your clients you've mentioned are in that 9 to 5, right? Like they're executive
yeah.
leaders, maybe they're really high level executive leaders and like they're either in that business world or maybe they're looking to like leave, corporate and start their own businesses. Maybe they have side hustles. Like for someone
Mm-hmm.
like you,
Mm-hmm.
I think the next hour or 45 minutes or so will really sort of like shift belief of like what's possible on LinkedIn. And since it's just me and you, like I would love to ask you because I'm sure so many women that are going to be watching this are going to like feel the same way that you feel, which is, are you on currently LinkedIn? And if you are, awesome. If you're not, or maybe you were from like your corporate days, I'm curious, like, what is your perception of LinkedIn?
My perception is that it's for mainly just business people. And the short time that I've been on there and played around with it, I get a lot of spam messages and,
Mhm.
people wanting to link up and immediately want to sell me something or, you know, connect to sell me something.
Yeah.
Um, and it feels pretty like stuffy a little bit, if that's the right word to describe. Like it feels like it's lacking fun, if you will.
Yeah.
And it seems real corporatey, and it's like that's just not my personality.
Yeah.
um but I know that that's probably not true, but that's how it comes across, and that it's very black and white, and people just want you to get to the point. They don't want all the fluff.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you nailed it. And like that is still one side of LinkedIn. Like I if I were to really like describe it, I would say there's these two sides of LinkedIn. There's like the corporate, everything that you described, and then there's like this side of LinkedIn that is sort of having this like spiritual awakening. Like you'll see, I have several Reiki clients who are on LinkedIn who, acquire high ticket clients on LinkedIn. I have a doula who's on LinkedIn, so there's really this like, and I think that that's just a reflection of like the collective, like that's waking up. And I think it was also the pandemic that made people realize like there isn't this really bold line between professional and personal. Like it all got blurred through the pandemic.
Mm. Hmm.
And it's also become a place where like entrepreneurs hang out. So it's not just a place for like you to find a job at this point. It's where a lot of entrepreneurs hang out. Um, and like, I mean, it's where I've built two six figure businesses. So it is like there is still that side of it being dull and sort of this corporate background. And it's been around for years, but really in the last like 2 years or so, it's really shifted. And the platform is like evolving to become this major player in the social media space. Like Snoop is on LinkedIn, Gary Vee is on LinkedIn, like these huge brands,
Hmm.
these personalities, like Ellen is on LinkedIn. All of these personalities are coming onto LinkedIn because they're finding it's the space for like personal brands and storytelling. And it's like business influence. The people who are on LinkedIn, um, are really like the reason why I think people are sort of flocking to LinkedIn. So if you're an entrepreneur who works with other business owners, whether it's small business or solopreneurs, or maybe you help, unhappy 9 to 5ers start businesses and step into their power, or maybe like you're a service provider and you offer this amazing transformation to your clients where they like step into their most expansive selves. Like these are high ticket clients that are waiting for you on LinkedIn. And there's a lot of sort of unhappy people who are beginning to awaken. And it's really become a place where like high level multi 8 figure CEOs hang out and consume thought leadership. So it's not the place for
Mm.
everybody. But there's definitely, I think, some people in your community who like their next 5 figures, their next 6 figures, their next high ticket client is waiting for them on LinkedIn. And so just some like really interesting numbers. LinkedIn's global user base by 2028 is going to hit almost a billion users, 942 million users. However, this is what's really, really cool. Right now, at this time, only 4% of users create content on a weekly basis. So it's like this wide blue ocean of
Whoa.
opportunity. So, yeah, almost 1 billion users by 2028, and only 4% of users at this time are considered creators. So, and then the number of posts on LinkedIn has also increased by 41% in the past 3 years. And so obviously, like that 4% will increase and continue to rise. But right now, like it really is in its golden years, and 3 to 5 years from now, even if it's something that is like a no pressure, slow grow, right? It doesn't have to be something that's like, all right, I gotta, it can be so overwhelming. But if you really have like a long-term mindset of like, okay, I'm not looking to like go on there and completely blow up in 6 months. I don't need instantaneous results in 3 to 6 months. Like this can be something because it has such a runway, right? So like this could be something within the next 3 to 5 years that if you get on now, like you're gonna be so happy that you did.
Mm.
The same way
Hmm.
that creators were like jumping on TikTok. Like those first TikTok creators like fucking blew up because no one was really on TikTok, and there was this like runway and it absolutely blew up and people called it. Like they called it, and some people went and they listened, and like now it's sort of harder to break in on TikTok, you know what I mean? So LinkedIn is this really wide blue ocean. And people aren't just like scrolling for entertainment and laughs. Like it is a little bit more serious of a place where, like, if you have insights and sort of like if you see yourself as a thought leader, where you can kind of see the gap in the conversation, and maybe you're like an industry disruptor where you see all this stuff that's sort of happening and you have these opinions on like industry trends and leadership and innovation. Like LinkedIn offers something that no other platform does, which is like the high value connections. I think the average earnings of a LinkedIn user is 6 figures, which is not the same
Hmm.
as Instagram and TikTok. That's more of the like low
No.
ticket, right? But,
Wow.
so yeah, like it's just, and it's not oversaturated. And I'm not someone who really believes in like saturation. I'm definitely someone who believes that like at the end of the day, let's say you're a coach. Well, there's like 5 million freaking coaches who do some version of what you do, and you can still be found on Instagram and Meta. Like, I'm not here to like fear people into like, oh, it's saturated on Instagram. No, like people are going to hire you because of who you are. But just the numbers, I think, speak to the opportunity on LinkedIn and like what the advantage is. And so the example I like to give, one of my clients, she works with women. She does womb work, right? So she works with women on like healing their relationship with the womb and transforming their relationship with like love and money and life, like through their womb and through their femininity. And on Instagram, like every other person is sort of doing that, like there's hundreds of thousands of women who are doing womb work on Instagram, and that's great. But on LinkedIn, like she's the purple cow, as I like to say. Like she is sort of the one and only. And like, especially for someone that does something sort of outside the box, you'll stand out even
Mm-hmm.
more. And so, yeah, like something that I have written down in my notes is also like, in case someone's watching this and they're wondering, like, okay, why is this woman telling me I should get on LinkedIn? Back in 2018, I scaled my first multi six-figure business solely using LinkedIn. I wasn't on any other platform. And then I went into corporate for a little while. And then I did it again back in 2023, 2024. I scaled the business I run now to multiple six figures solely using LinkedIn, doing high ticket one-on-one, not even doing group programs. I didn't even scale my business doing group programs. I just scaled my business doing high ticket one-on-one, where my containers start at $15,000 and scaled that way. I actually like just fired up my Instagram within the last 6 months, but I haven't really like been on there. And it's because the people who are on LinkedIn are like those high quality buyers who are interested. Like if you're on LinkedIn, like you're interested in professional growth, period. You're not on LinkedIn if you're not interested in consuming that business thought leadership content. So I'd love to know. I was going to ask everyone, like to drop in the chat sort of what they do and who they help, because I was curious, if you have anybody who you think like, hey, like this actually might be a place again where like remove the overwhelm and the pressure and just zoom out and say, like, you know, can I grow here within the next 3 years? And having that long-term mindset. Is there anybody like, do you feel like there are women in your community who would resonate with
Every
some?
single one of them.
Yeah.
Every single one of them needs to be on LinkedIn because they all serve high-end clientele. So like every single one of them.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of client that I work with, that has done the work and not afraid of personal development. They've been doing it for years and years and years.
Mhm.
Um, and so the type of woman I work with um, is very driven, typically type A, not afraid to go after their goals, but has also done a lot of personal development and, somatics and EFT tapping and Reiki and has done all the things, but looked at it more as a checklist instead of like stopping and integrating it into their system. And also they're learning how to feel more safe in slowing down and being in their feminine energy instead of treating the spiritual healing world as another checkbox kind of situation. So they are women who, yeah, they're all mega successful in their own way and still going after big goals. Huge dreamers, all of them, corporate or business owners. So they all need to be on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. Played around with it, especially after meeting you and watching some of your stuff. I was like, and then I had watched another seminar prior to meeting you, and I was like, wow, I really need to just play around with this, and kind of like what you're saying, even if I just do one post a week,
Yes.
and just do that for now. Again, no pressure kind of thing. I just kind of take what I post on Instagram or to my email list and
Mhm.
just post it on there. And then I found out I could schedule it.
Mhm.
And so I just schedule something for once a week. And I just thought, and then I kind of updated some stuff and, helped and then used between Chat GPT and my mentor and my
Mhm.
boyfriend, because he has a really successful company. Between all that, trying to constantly tweak it. But it's not something I spend a lot of time on, but it's something that I spend consistent amount of time on, just constantly tweaking little things here and there.
Mhm.
Because again, like you say, I don't want it to be one of those things where I wish I would have just put a little bit into it.
Mhm.
Um, And I've been so excited for this call because I want to know how to utilize it more and I wanted to know more facts on it. And I've, even with my mentor, when I had a call with her, she was like, all of your content is so good and it's speaking directly to your ideal client. She's like, but I'm wondering if your ideal client is in your audience. Are they on Instagram?
Mhm.
Are they on Facebook? And I was like, it's funny because
Mhm.
I've been, and I get clients, but not at the rate that I would think, and not the rate that I would want. And I've wondered that. And that's why I've really been curious about LinkedIn because all the reasons that you just said, that they're going to be more, financially in the bracket that of clients that I work with. And not just that, but the mindset. They understand the value of investing in someone like me. So yeah, but every single woman, I went on a tangent there, but every single woman in my membership should definitely be on LinkedIn after everything you just said.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
hands
Yeah.
down, hands down.
And I think a lot of like what you said is like even if I just invest a little bit of time here, and it be like a slow grow, and take the pressure off of it, like that's like the thing I hear the most of like why people don't jump on is because they have maybe this like all or nothing mindset of like, well, it's going to take me a long time to learn it and I don't know all the nuances and I'm probably going to make a bunch of mistakes. Like, and is it guaranteed? I don't really like, is it worth my time? And so I think if we sort of just shift and open up and expand our mindset of like, and see like what really is possible on LinkedIn and then turn on that long-term mindset because we know the runway is going to be like the next 3 years. Can we zoom out of those 3 years and say, hey, if I just give it like 20% of my time over the next 3 years, by the time this platform fucking booms, I'm going to be 100 steps ahead of everybody else that is now flocking to the platform come 2028. So I'm glad that definitely resonates. And my plan for today was like to shift some beliefs around LinkedIn and maybe like influence some people to start playing around and exploring and spending some time there. But I also was going to spend the majority of our time talking about the kind of content that successful creators are creating on LinkedIn because yeah, like I can give you the tour and maybe you think that that's really valuable like for people watching the replay is like me to jump on, share my screen and give a tour around and like show some of the features. It's kind of like a corporate Facebook if I'm being honest, like the functionality
Mm.
of it is really similar to a Facebook. So I thought there'd be like maybe a greater use of our time would be not so much showing like the bells and whistles and the functionality of LinkedIn, but talking about the type of content that does well on LinkedIn because there is some nuance and there is some difference. It's a very copy driven platform. Um, Video content is definitely growing, but it's something that LinkedIn has implemented within maybe the last like year and a half. So, it's really like it's not been a video heavy platform. I scaled my business to 6 figures doing zero video. It was all just long form written content. So I wanted to go over that a little bit, and talk about some of that the content nuances there, and go through some of the principles and the frameworks. And this session was sort of about LinkedIn, but it was also about like your voice and really tapping into sort of that well of creativity, that each of us have, and turning social media into a portal for like your self-expression versus it just being like a marketing channel, where you get clients. Because that's just been the biggest shift that I've made like in my business that's really allowed me to sort of hit my goals is transforming my relationship with social media. So that's what I was planning on doing today, but I'm also happy to like pivot a little bit. I was going to go through like a visualization, of tapping back into sort of that creativity, because it's so connected to like our inner child in a way. Like if we can turn content into a place for like play and presence and it be like a ritual versus just like this checklist of like, because how many times has content been just sort of a chore, or something that we don't really like look forward to doing. It's something that we sort of like have to make time for. And so what I find is like a lot of people go to LinkedIn and they think it has to be this like a lot of how-tos, right? A lot of like information because there's all these mainstream marketers out there saying, oh, like you need your content to be valuable, like lead with value, lead with value. And so a lot of people go to LinkedIn thinking that they do have to be stuffy and they do kind of have to have like a little bit of a stick up their butt and be like super professional. But the more vulnerable you are and the more playful you are, like the even more you stand out on LinkedIn, and people are so hungry for that. Like they're so hungry and thirsty for that because, yeah, 99% of people on LinkedIn are like traditional masculine. So, like, the weirder and the more vulnerable you are, the more attention like your content actually gets. But there's sort of this mindset block there. So that was my plan was to go through like the visualization and everything, but I'm happy since we're like one-on-one. Um, I'd love to address some of the questions you have or like whatever would feel more valuable. Honestly, for you, like, would that be for you to share your screen and for us to jump into your LinkedIn and look at some of your content? Or do you want to go through, some of the frameworks that I have? So I'll sort of let you, or do you want to go through the the visualization of tapping into that creativity in our content? Like what would feel best for you?
I think the very first option where you're talking about like what type of content and the frameworks, because all the women in here are pretty really good at posting and being themselves and vulnerable, and that's their angle, is they're definitely not afraid to stand out.
Awesome.
But it's more of yeah, utilizing LinkedIn in the best way possible, because it is, a foreign thing, but
Mhm.
they're all way more tech savvy than me, that's for damn sure. So I don't think there would be a problem navigating LinkedIn. It's just more of like, what if they were to spend time, like you said, let's say 20% of their time,
Mhm.
what would be the most efficient use of that time and what kind of posts should they be doing? Because like there's photographers in there, there's a holistic health coach in there, there's actually a couple different ones, but they're on two different, serving two type of different clients. um there's just a variety of women. So but they're all very good with communicating, and words and writing, like all
Awesome.
really talented in that area. And if anything, a lot of them have to be more concise, because Instagram is not really for long form,
Mhm.
So where they do a lot of their long form is either in their email or blogs.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm just curious, because I'm sure they are too, like, yeah, what type of content should they be focusing on posting, and should there be a blog attached to it where they can read even more about it? How often should they be posting, or is it like a consistency thing?
Mhm.
Like for mine, I post every Monday. That's what I have mine scheduled for. um and how to know, just how to utilize it better. Like, should you pay for ads? Should you sign up for the LinkedIn, premium or whatever? Is that worth it?
Mhm.
um do they do, where you connect with people and do like live seminar kind of things, where they have like live videos with Instagram or Facebook? Is that a thing?
Mhm.
um can you get brand deals from being, like having a high number of connections on LinkedIn? Like those kind of things would be intriguing, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely for me, and I know for them.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that sounds good. And I'm glad I asked too, because like at the end of the day, I want to answer questions and like meet you and your community where you're at with the whole LinkedIn thing. So if you feel like it's not necessarily like the creativity, but it's more so understanding the layout and like the
Mhm.
nuance and what works and what doesn't. So I'm going to be kind of going off the cuff here a little bit, just before I get into like those specific frameworks, I'd love to touch on a couple different things that you mentioned. So
Okay.
the first thing I would say is no, it's not necessary for you to purchase premium. I scaled to six figures two times without it. So that's the first thing I'll say. And yeah, influencer marketing is huge. I follow a girl that just got hired by Bumble. Bumble is doing like influencer marketing. All of these brands, like these B2B and B2C, like large consumer brands are on LinkedIn. And yeah, people are getting paid to influence. They're getting paid thousands of dollars per post because organic reach is just so freaking good. Like I'll post something on Instagram and it'll get 500 views and then I posted the same exact thing on LinkedIn even a couple weeks ago and I had 100,000 views on it. So like, and I'm going to go in and share my screen and show some of these frameworks of these specific posts that have done really, really well for me. But the first thing I'll say is I'm going to bring it back to what what your coach said, which is do you have the right people in your network? Like I think that is really important. There's a lot of clients that come to me and they're spending a lot of time posting, but then I go and I do like a network diagnostic and they don't necessarily have their ICP in their LinkedIn network. So it's not getting in front of the right people. So the first thing I would say, LinkedIn allows you to send like here's the thing about LinkedIn is I feel like on Instagram there's connection that happens, but it's not really like how many comments do you leave a week on Instagram?
Mm, on other people's stuff,
Yeah.
maybe, well, when I'm not on holiday, probably 20 a week.
hmm Yeah.
And
And would you
that's like
say
minimum.
like that impacts your like reach at all? Like, are you doing that because of your reach? Do you have people like when you leave comments, they come to your profile and they check you out?
I would say that only happens once a month, and that's if I'm lucky to comment on a huge account and I'm like one of the first comments.
Yeah.
Then that will happen, but that, yeah, maybe only happens once a month. Like I still have a comment that I left on Layla Hermosi's one of her posts that like 400 people have liked.
Yeah.
But out of those 400 people, I probably got five follows,
Yeah.
which is still
Yeah.
great. But yeah, that would be great if that was every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and five follows meaning like five follows of people that are ideal clients, because I'm not a person that like I care about numbers just for the ego part.
Mhm.
I care about the numbers if it's the right people. I'd rather have the right people than a million followers that are just like not even my ideal person that I'm trying to impact. And
Mhm.
it's not even necessarily like that I want them to buy from me. Just have some sort of like positive impact that inspires them to do something, whether it's my free content or listening to my podcast or, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I have a really crazy statistic. I haven't updated this statistic since January, so it has definitely, or yeah, since January, so it's definitely changed since then. But as of January, 42% of my high ticket clients have found me through comments on LinkedIn,
Wow.
which is crazy. Like I tell people that and they're like, what are you talking about? But that is the magic sauce of LinkedIn. Um, I should have grabbed like there's some LinkedIn, gurus that have 300,000 followers and they talk about this all the time. So um to validate what I'm about to say and back it up because I think it's just so like a foreign concept because this is not true on Meta. But on LinkedIn, like a goal for my clients that I set for my clients is 50 comments a week. 50
Mm-hmm.
comments a week. And even if like even 20 comments on LinkedIn is gonna yield such a higher return than it does on Instagram. Even if you can do 10 comments a week, it's gonna yield a higher return. I mean, I have 16 private clients right now, and 42% of them came from seeing me comment on another person's thing. And it wasn't just or another person's post. And it's not just like oh, awesome post, but it's sharing your thought leadership. Maybe it's disagreeing. Maybe it's like finding the
Mhm.
gap in the conversation. So these comments are more thoughtful. Like it's a place for you to sort of spread your message. I use the analogy of like planting seeds that then bloom in the spring, right? Like you never know. It's just comments are so um relevant on LinkedIn, and activity and engaging is so important. Every comment that you leave on LinkedIn, it's like a drop in the bucket that LinkedIn returns to you when you post. So my clients that do the best are the ones that actually like they do spend time obviously creating the content, but they spend even more time influencing on other people's content.
Mm.
So for someone to like, if someone's looking to grow on LinkedIn and they're going from zero to, they're looking to grow from zero to whatever, like that is an aspect of LinkedIn that is required, which is not posting and ghosting. Like it is carving out 30 minutes to 45 minutes to an hour a week and saying, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to find these accounts, like prospecting a little bit. There's a little bit of like sort of legwork that's involved in the beginning. And again, it doesn't have to mean spending 8 hours a week commenting. It can be 1 hour a week. My goal is going to be, 15 to 20 comments
That's
on,
like 10 minutes a day. That's
yeah,
so doable.
exactly. It is so doable if you're willing to do it. And so that's like the first piece is I would say is, okay, look at your network. Who is in your network? It's connecting with larger accounts that share those ideal clients. And it's also maybe smaller accounts. And it's sort of like, it's an olive branch on LinkedIn when you go and you comment on someone's post and you leave, a 100-word comment on like, hey, I really love how you phrase, like how you position this. And like, yeah, here's how I see that like true in my life. And here's the perspective that I have to add, that I have to add. And, you know, I forget where I was going with that, but that's going to be the thing that like attracts the right people. And LinkedIn allows you to send 400 connection requests a month. And now I don't do that. Like now I have 8,000 followers and I have a steady influx of leads and all this stuff. So I don't do that anymore. But when I was growing my LinkedIn, that was something that I'm like made sure to max out every
I
single
do
month.
that. I do
Yeah,
the same thing. When I
good.
figured that out that I could only do a max per week or whatever it was, I was like, all right, every week I'm going to max this out.
Max it out. I love it. Yeah, yeah. And it's not something you're gonna have to do forever. Like it's really not.
Yeah.
But if you can do that for 6 to 9 months,
Mm.
like your results are going to look so much different at the end versus if you weren't expanding your network in like a really intentional way. So those are two little nuances of LinkedIn there is like make sure if you're growing your LinkedIn and you have goals for the next 6 to 9 months, you're maxing out those connection requests. And then you're also spending an hour a week or 10 minutes a day, whatever it is, leaving 5 comments a day or 20 comments a week, because that's going to drive traffic to your content. Like whenever someone comes to me and they're like, my content's not doing well, I'm like, okay, how long do you spend on LinkedIn? Like, when's the last time you made 5 new friends? Like, who are
Mm.
the last 10 people that you connected with and you had a conversation with in comments? And you're like, wow, like I really fuck with this person. I really like this person, you know? Like if you're not doing
Mhm.
that, then you're not going to have great results. But if you're really going in and you're spending some time showing other people love on their thought leadership, that's the quickest way to expand your account. So that's the first thing I'll say. I'm gonna also share my screen and we can jump into some um, storytelling frameworks. Let me make sure I have the right thing pulled up. Okay. Okay. So storytelling is definitely, and everybody says this, right? Like, oh yeah, stories don't just like tell us, but drop us into a moment. And so the first framework I have, I talk a lot about storytelling and then also like finding the gap in the conversation and sharing your opinion, your controversial opinions that maybe go against like industry norms or like for example, this first post. I followed my current coach on socials for a whole year before paying her 5 figures. I watched hundreds of her videos. I exhausted all of her freebies. She never saw me coming. I never DM'd her. And then one night I grew tired of my own bullshit and I finally pulled the trigger because I was done putting it off any longer. Here's the takeaway. Trust is built over long periods of time. 90 days isn't long enough to see the results you want. Sometimes it takes 6 to 12 months or longer, and that's assuming your messaging is aligned and your offers are fire. And then I don't include it here, but then the call to action is, of course, I forget exactly what this call to action was. It was 7 months ago, but um, you can see here, I think this got 100,000 impressions, almost 700 likes, 200 comments, and 4 reposts. Um, so this
And
is,
that was on LinkedIn.
yeah, this is on LinkedIn.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Um, and this is like, again, I could have just said, oh, there's a lot of people out here because I see a lot of coaches on LinkedIn guaranteeing results in 90 days. And I think a lot of people have that short-term mindset, right? So this is an example of like talking about, hey, that long-term mindset. And the story that I told is that I followed Shoshana, like
Hmm.
I followed her for 18 months. I never like messaged her. She never saw me coming. And then one night I said, fuck it. And I spent $25,000 on her mastermind. But she
Mm.
never would have seen me coming. So, again, like I could have just shared the controversial opinion of like, there's a lot of coaches out there who are saying um, that they can guarantee results in 90 days. And, but instead I dropped them into a moment and kind of shared my evolution of like how I even realized this, right?
Mm. Mm.
And so I flip it and I'm become the buyer, right? So
Mm.
this is an example of that. So the first framework is like story first, opinion second. Um, and then this post actually brought me a client. And that doesn't happen all the time. Like a lot of my posts are going to, like you said, they're funneling people towards my free spaces or my podcast or a masterclass. Like, so the conversion happens in those spaces. It's not necessarily someone reading a post and saying, oh, I saw your post. Like, let me become a client. I want to apply. Right. But this post specifically did. Um, I used to position myself as a LinkedIn coach and content writer, like half the people on this app, and then LinkedIn suspended my account. And it was such a gift because what I do isn't just LinkedIn coaching, but these are all the things that we work through together. Da 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 da. I think this got 32,000 impressions, um,
Wow.
94 likes, 18. I'm wondering why. Can I see? Why didn't I include reactions? Oops. I think on some of my other ones I do. Yeah, I do. I don't know why I didn't on these ones. But this post on the left is like one of my top performing posts. And then this one did result in a direct client. And so again, it's like I'm telling the story of the time that LinkedIn suspended my account. And it went into then talk about how, like, what my coaching really is and how, yeah, like I do LinkedIn coaching, but it's so much more about like visibility and breaking through those like childhood wounds of like perfectionism and imposter syndrome and all this stuff. And my most recent client, Erin, messaged me and she was like, hey, like I've been looking for a LinkedIn coach, but I know that it's like so much more than LinkedIn. Like I have all of these fears of being visible and all of this stuff. So this post directly got me a client. So I wanted to share that. So again, story first, dropping someone like into a moment of like how we came up with this big idea and then sharing the opinion, sharing the thought leadership that sort of calls something out in the industry that we see that maybe a lot like other people are feeling and they're like, yeah, like I do see a lot of LinkedIn coaches out there teaching people how to do LinkedIn, but like I have deeper rooted issues. It's not just about LinkedIn, it's about being fully visible and sharing my voice and da 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 da. So it really resonated with someone. Um, any questions here? Hopefully this is like getting you just thinking. Like that's the point,
Hmm.
right? Is like getting you thinking about certain big ideas that you've had or certain thought leadership or like what sets you apart. And then linking it back to like a story. Um, but yeah, I would love to stop here and answer any questions or talk about it a little more if you want.
No, that's really impressive that literally just a text write up got such big views. And yeah, that's crazy. So is it kind of like Meta where even now this post still gets pushed out, or does it only get pushed out for so long?
Yeah, I would say that's a really good question. LinkedIn talked about this recently, like within the last year of how they kind of changed their algorithm. And so yeah, they definitely last like longer than like I would say I still get people liking my stuff from like a month ago or something like
Mm.
that.
Hmm.
Um, I have not gotten any, like this post hasn't surfaced in a really long time. This was about 7 or 8 months ago. Um, so they do stay around for a little bit longer. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And there was a picture attached to this. So there
Oh,
was a
okay.
photo of me, like a
Okay.
selfie of some sort, and I can share my actual LinkedIn. We can jump onto my actual LinkedIn after this, and I can
Okay.
kind of give like a little bit of a tour.
Okay.
Um, okay, this post I thought was really interesting because it only got 3,500 impressions, but then you have 140 likes and 40 comments. And this post specifically brought, I think, like 6 or 7 people into my free community. So this framework is like the hero's journey, and we see this all the time. Like this is where you really, like I actually took an Instagram trend and then just typed it. I didn't create a video or anything, but there was this trend on Instagram that was going around that was like, they would show like a video of you like 6 years ago, and it would be like, this girl doesn't know it yet, but she's about to blah, blah, blah. Do you know that trend I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in this post, I shared like a side by side photo of me, like I think 6 years ago, 5 years ago. And then I had like a photo of me now, and it was like this side by side. And the post was like the girl in that first photo doesn't know it yet, but she'll walk away from social media and or social work and retail jobs. She'll spend the next 4 years building her first business. I talk about my first business. I talk about then how I come to this place and I was like a slave to my first business. I worked 90 hours a week, all this stuff, but I was also doing really well. And then I talk about the business that I'm in now and all this freedom that I have and how I'm making more than I even was in my first business. But I have all of this freedom and I only work 30 hours a week and da 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 da. And I ended up having like 6 or 7 people, join my free community, which is where I convert and do all that stuff. And then this was a really fun post. It wasn't even about me. It was about Chapel Roan and how, like, I think at the time she had just broke the record at Lollapalooza. And then I found out that like 2 years ago she was working at McDonald's. And I'm like, yeah, like just don't quit, right? And this had, 10,000 impressions,
Mm.
130 likes, 55 comments, 4 reposts, and a bunch of people entered my free community. Um,
Awesome.
so another example of just like sharing your past and turning like your past and those past scars into like your power, um,
Mm.
and sort of boasting and bragging a little bit and like owning the success that you've had now. Um, so yeah, I call this sort of like the hero's journey. And again, like this stuff is being done on Instagram. Like this was an Instagram trend. And then I just brought it over and, obviously I know it's going to be long form content and a picture. Like that's all that
Hmm.
it was. And we can
Hmm.
go and I can show you that. And then framework 3 is beginning with the end in mind. So this is sort of another storytelling framework where like this is an example. So I was doing a live with a friend of mine and we were talking about like the sisterhood wound. and how that's been like a huge place of growth for both of us as we realized we had the sisterhood wound and we've like what that means and all this stuff. And so this was an event that we were doing, like a conversion event. And this post alone, 23 people signed up for the event, and I converted 2 high ticket clients.
Amazing. Wow.
So I didn't just say, "Hey, I'm doing an event about the sisterhood wound," right? I said, I was 3 or 4 years old the first time I felt it, begging my mom for a sister. I even named my baby doll sister, and my mom's response was, "Is you don't want a sister. There will be less toys and attention for you. You're better off with brothers." And so then I go at 6, I watched my father's sisters and mother, push my mom away. And so all of these different things in my childhood that I was witnessing that impacted my sisterhood wound. And yeah, the result was really cool. Um, and then this is another one, again, like less than 1,000 impressions. 4 people joined my free community, and one of them joined my group coaching program. And so this was about my free community. It's called the Visibility Project, and it's all about like visibility online. And so
Mhm.
I talked about how I sang in church recently, and I went back to a time where in 5th grade, people made fun of me for singing. And so I never sang again in front of anybody, like not even my husband or my family. And then I started really working on like online visibility, and I sang in church for the first time recently. And so a bunch of people joined my visibility project just based on the story. And then I was able to convert a group coaching person within there. And again, only 1,000 impressions, 50 people, and 42 comments. So you can see here, like all 67 comments, 42 comments, 55, 40. I mean, this one was insane, 218. And they're not just, like maybe it would be good if I actually shared. Let's open up at least one of these to show an example of what some of the comments look like. Do you think that would be helpful?
Yeah.
Just to kind of see the difference in the type of comments, that are left. If my thing wants to work. Okay. So here's the first post that I shared. Um, and here's an example of some of the, like you can see here, like 13 people liked just this comment, right? So the point that I made earlier about 42% of my private clients have found me through comments. This is like a good example of that, right? There's like 13 people who have liked it, then they're going to go to his page and they're going to go see. Um, and there's little conversations even within the conversation. So I replied to his
Mm.
comment, and then another person replied to me because I shared a little bit more thought leadership, right? And so she replied to my comment that was replying to someone else's comment. Like, look at this. Like, I mean, that's a pretty long comment. You don't really see that a ton on Instagram unless like people are talking shit, But like if someone likes your post, you don't necessarily see like thought leadership in comments on Instagram. It's just a quick comment unless you've got haters. And it is even a place where you can kind of coach in your comments. Like Dr. Jane is someone who she's invested in some of my low ticket stuff, like my one-off $33 masterclass or whatever. She's never been in like a high ticket container. But I'm a little over a year in and I just started to see progress, right? Step by step. I think that first year or two is like the hardest. So you're like building relationships in the
Mm.
comments. right? Thank you for this reminder. Seeds are often planted when we don't know and they take, or when we don't know and they take time to harvest. Yeah. See, we scatter seeds by posting, commenting, and making genuine connections, and then we forget about them and they blossom. Um, so yeah, just some like fun examples here on couldn't agree more. I have my 3-month program and call it my Kickstarter program. Just want to see if there's any more kind of good examples in here, but my largest investment I've ever made in myself was 6 months after the first conversation. So it's just people like agreeing, but
Hmm.
I'm in my client's LinkedIn right now, which is why you see her over here. I'm not actually logged into mine right now. Um, but let's go to my profile. So I love like standing out. 9 out of 10 people on LinkedIn, like what's cool about LinkedIn is it's sort of like a little website or like a little landing page. Like you do have these fun design aspects that can really display like your personality. Like this could just be like gray and I could just have like, oh, my information or whatever, but like I paid to have someone create this for me, because I'm like, show my personality, incorporate these fun design aspects. So this is like just kind of a little billboard that you get. And then you get, your headline where you get to play around. And I think you get 220 characters, not words, but characters to play around with. Um, you also have your about section where you can really display some thought leadership and talk about, what you're all about.
Mm.
And you also, what I don't have up right now, actually, that I'm going to show you on another person, my website is being revamped, so I don't have it up here right now. Um, but if I go to my client, let's go to hers. So I don't have this on my page right now. Um, and because a lot of my programs are waitlisted, but you can see her featured section. She's got like, it's kind of a little storefront, So she has this event happening on July 12th. People can click right into that. She's got a little bit of information here. So this is kind of cool that you get to put this up. Sorry, my computer is running just so slow.
That's all right.
And I've talked to her before how like her banner could, ooh, I don't know what just happened. I guess I clicked into one of her links there. But yeah, what else do you think would be helpful for us to touch on that I can give a little tour on anything? Um any like questions that are top of mind that I can answer as far as how to do something functionality wise or maybe something different?
No, I think looking at this profile and looking at your profile helps a lot.
Hmm.
Um, I can't think of any questions off of the top of my head that I haven't already asked.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like one of those things of when to post kind of thing, does it really matter? Is what matters more is the consistency.
Here's what I'd say. Um, Post when you can engage.
Mm,
So
okay.
like some people be like, oh, like your best time to post is at 8 a.m. And I'm like, well, it's not if you're not going to be able to get on and like reply to comments, right? And like engage. So I would say the best time to post is when you can then engage. So maybe that's 11 a.m., maybe that's 3 p.m. I've posted at 9 p.m. before. Like I one of my best performing posts, I posted at like 9 p.m. And I was like LinkedIn after dark and it had all of these, right? And then like for days later, for weeks later, people saw it. So I think that's the piece of advice I would give is like post when you can devote 15 to 20 minutes you know,
Hmm.
to then go engage. Or if you are going to schedule it and you're like, that's okay too. There's multiple things that work. It's not like the only thing that works is if you engage when you post, but you can totally schedule out your post and then come back later and reply. Like that's totally cool too. Um, but if you can post when you do have those 10 to 15 minutes to then go engage, that's going to
Hmm.
improve like reach and impressions on your post.
And what about how to connect with the right people,
Hmm.
for one that are people that you genuinely want to connect with, maybe not just to be clients, but to collaborate with or be commenting on their stuff? Like, is there a specific way to search people?
Yeah, I love that question. Okay, let's jump into the search. Except why isn't it letting me? I'm gonna go to her page really quick just to show one more. This is someone, her name's Georgia. She's killing it, like absolutely killing it. She had like $100,000 month last month,
Wow.
solely from LinkedIn, selling her mastermind. I think it's like a $15,000 mastermind for the year. But she is like totally, dang, why does it keep doing that? And then I'll show you the search feature because um, I will say that if you do have LinkedIn Premium, the search features are amazing. Like you can get stupid specific, and maybe I'll just, gosh, I'm sorry it's going so slow. Let me see if I can get to where I need to go and then I'll share my screen.
That's okay.
And the search bar does act as a search engine. So like let's say you know, I mean, I guess I'm trying to think of maybe what you would search. Um, I think this might be better. Let me share my screen. Okay. So this is LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which is the premium service. I think it's like $100 a month. And what it allows you to do is go crazy on filters. So let's say like I have a corporate life behind, like in my past, and there's a company I used to work for, and I don't want to see them. Like, let's just say I can include certain companies that I do, people that work for certain companies, but I can also exclude certain companies.
Hmm.
And then you go into company headcount. So, for example, like for you, you're probably looking for people who are self-employed, right?
Hmm.
Um, and then let's also say, so do all the people that you work with, are they business owners, or do you also work with women who are like within companies?
Yeah, both.
Yeah. And what would you say those companies, like, are they really large companies?
There's a mix. Yeah.
Well, let's start with the self-employed people because I would say like those are two segments and you can create two different lists. So we'll
Okay.
say self-employed and then we'll say the company type is going to be self-employed or self-owned maybe. Um, if you want to get local, you can. Like if you do run a localized business and a lot of what you do is in person, you can do like location here and hone in on people who are in your city.
Hmm.
And then you can look up job titles. So I'm sure for you, like, what are some job titles of the women that you're working with? Obviously, like founder, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
CEO,
Mm-hmm.
maybe like,
There's like regional president. I'm trying to think of their like official titles. But yeah, like regional president. Um, what is her title? Um, there's a director, like a managing director.
perfect.
That's all I can think of right now. But
Perfect.
you said this is only on the paid one.
This is on the paid one. Yeah, but you do get a month for free. So
Mm.
you get a free month of premium. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so you can play around with it. And at a certain point, like it might make sense for someone to invest in this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Years in the company, years position, geography, industry. You can even look up industry. So are there any specific industries where your clients
Hmm.
are?
That's really cool. Um, one is in like medical sales. Um, one is head of like what would you call that? Like upcoming science stuff. I see that I don't know. I don't
Okay.
understand what
Like
some of
let's say you're looking to like let's say you're a coach for coaches just for the sake of generating the list. Let's just say that you're looking for to work with like other business coaches. You're a business coach's coach just for
Mhm.
the sake of doing that. Um, and then this is what's really fun. There's these different toggles over here. So I can say, okay, I want to see how many people with my like my ICP, how many ICP do I have in my network? So I can do a diagnostic of my network and see that right now I have 40 people in my network. You see the 40 results right here
Mhm.
who fall under this. So here's a good example like, oh, Julie Davis, like she's a founder of marketing. And so I can see all of these people who, right, an owner of sales solutions, um, all of these different people who fall. And you can
And
even,
so when you find a person that you want to connect with, do you just like connect with them? Do you send them a message? Do you try to comment on their post? What's like the best way to go about connecting with people who live on LinkedIn?
yeah,
Like what's
awesome
the proper
question.
etiquette, I guess?
Awesome question. So these are showing people who are in my current network. Let's go ahead and see, let's generate a list. So what we're going to want to do is, okay, I've got all my ICP in. Now, if my computer ever starts working, I'm going to click second degree connections. So second degree connections are people who I'm not connected with, but I have mutual connections with. So there's like that mutual ground, or maybe like for this woman we're in a shared group together. So that's kind of like a little common ground. And then third degree connections are people who I'm not connected with. They're in my ICP, but I have no shared connections with.
Okay.
So in this case, for these people, let's say I'm like, yeah, this guy's like, or a freelance writer. I'm really like, I work with service providers, and all that stuff. So the first thing I'm probably gonna want to do what's nice is you actually don't even really have to go to their profile. You just click their name and it pops up in this little sidebar right here. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to see, do they have any comment or any content that I can like comment on? So you had the right idea of like commenting and engaging in their content and then sending the connection request.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
Okay.
there's plenty of times where I just send a connection request, I do, but then I try to go back. So I would say either comment on their stuff and then send the connection request, or like shoot over the connection request and then go comment on some of their stuff. If you don't want to break it up and go back and forth and stuff. But it is like I am more likely to accept a connection request if I have the familiarity of saying, oh, that person just commented on my post and they left a really great comment. Like, yeah, I'm going to accept their connection request. And so you can just click into here, um, and you'll just boom, connect. And I do not send a message because people assume if a message comes with, or a connection request comes with like a message, oftentimes people just ignore it because they get so many. So it's
Mm-hmm.
better to like build the relationship through comments and through engagement and then to connect and then maybe send a DM of like, hey, like I just wanted to introduce myself, super glad to be connected, but not like pitch them on anything because so many people do that and they get it totally wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And another fun little like sort of filter is that you can actually hone in on people who are posting on LinkedIn. So
Mm.
you can do this toggle and you could say, because a part of the engagement strategy is finding those people to engage with that are your ICP who you can go provide value on their posts. So this is a really great filter to just zero in on people who are actually active on LinkedIn. Let's say this is someone I'm like, yeah, like great. She's my ICP. Well, 3 weeks ago, she posted. Well, she reposted. That's totally me. And you can go in and you can comment and just kind of poke your head in and just, right, like make that connection. And it doesn't necessarily mean that she's going to become a client. It's just kind of like sprinkling those wildflowers. Because here's the thing, I could write a really thoughtful comment on her thing and on her post, and someone else in her network could see it. Remember that 42% of my clients came from me commenting on someone else's post.
Mm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
was that helpful?
That was very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the premium. And if you don't have premium, what you can still do is you can come in here and you could say, like, I don't know, what's an example of I'm trying to think of an example. Let me just put in like, let's say I'm looking to connect with like email marketers. I can just type it in here and then there's multiple things. So if I show people, it'll show me people. Email marketing manager. So if someone has like a really specific ICP, you obviously can't like, it's not like it doesn't have all of the filters that the other, that the premium does have, but you can still type in something and then either see. It's a little bit tougher if, like, for example, one of my clients is a doula. She's not typing in like pregnant women into the search or anything like that. It's a little different. But
Yeah.
you can still search or you can like let's say I'm looking for posts on remote work and you can find, and see that people are posting. It'll bring up posts that sort of have those keywords, but it doesn't work as well as the other filters.
Yeah. Yeah. You can definitely see that.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, I definitely want to sign up for the month free and have a play with that because even if I make really good connections in that month, like it
Yeah.
would be worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, wow, that was like very eye-opening, everything that you shared for sure. And I'm gonna continue. utilizing the time that I have been on LinkedIn, but now I'm going to be even more intentional about how I show up on there.
Yeah.
Um, and my last thing that I want you to share before I want to be respectful of your time is can you just share with people, because I know you mentioned like your free membership and different group things, and just kind of share with people like if they're keen to work with you in some way, shape, or form, what your offers are.
Yeah, I put a couple links together. Um, I was gonna say I could drop them in the chat, but that'll just go away if someone's watching the replay.
All
So
right,
yeah,
I'll give it
I'll
here.
give you my LinkedIn URL. So if anyone wants to connect, they can. And then I also right now have one-on-one containers open. I actually don't normally offer 3-month containers, but I did just offer up a limited amount of spots of 3-month containers. So just to get someone started in a way. But I offer 6 and 12 month containers. And I also offer copywriting. So let's say that someone like really wants to get on LinkedIn, but they have a really established business and they're like, I don't have the time to create 3 posts a week. I also have like copywriting packages. So for people who want to grow on LinkedIn but are looking to outsource some of it. So I offer
Mm.
that. And then I also offer, of course, like LinkedIn and content coaching and 3, 6, and 12 month containers. And then my group program is I have a wait list open right now. So I can share that link with you as well. And my LinkedIn link. And then my Instagram. And on my Instagram, you'll see I incorporate a little bit of human design into my coaching as well. So my Instagram is
Mm.
kind of like all human design, and I'm starting to incorporate that like into my LinkedIn messaging because that's been sort of a little bit of like a block for me is my passion really is like human design, but I haven't been it's been a huge part of my business, but it's not been something I've been incorporating on LinkedIn because I'm like who on LinkedIn knows about human design? So I even still have some like limiting beliefs around that. Um but yeah, so that's what you'll see on my Instagram and then my group cohort wait list. And if you go to my LinkedIn, my website will be done soon, and that has all my program information. It's just not up right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't know you did copywriting and all that too. There's probably a couple women in there that would want help with that.
Yeah.
Um, with putting it over into LinkedIn, um, so that it's more, I don't know, LinkedIn content friendly.
Yeah. Yeah. There is, I think like and everyone's going to figure out their own process. I think if Instagram, if Meta is someone's like primary platform,
Hmm.
there's a million ways to like repurpose that content, but there is a little bit of nuance because you're not directly just like bringing a video over from Instagram and throwing it up. Like it's copy. And video is becoming more prevalent, so I am seeing some people bring those videos like over, and we didn't even really get to that of like what the video aspect of LinkedIn kind of looks like. um
Mm.
but yeah, it definitely is a little different than just like copy and pasting what you
Hmm.
have. So the themes, I would say like the caption, right? Like your caption is
Mm.
really what you can sort of bring over, and then maybe whatever's on the screen is like your hook. So
Hmm.
there's definitely opportunity for like repurposing. You don't have to create like entirely new content, but the formatting is going to be like you do want to pay attention to the formatting a little bit.
Yeah, I've been posting basically my slide decks.
Hmm.
So I don't redo anything. I just literally take my slide decks and put them over and put the caption with it. So, but after watching this today, I'm like, okay, I need to like change things up a little bit.
Yeah.
But again, it's just one of those things that I was like, very minimal effort, just want to be consistent, have a play around with it, here and there, and just
Yeah.
constantly, tweak at it here and there. And I'm very much the person that I understand the long game of things. And I understand that that's a huge problem with society today is we're so um spoiled in our dopamine hits and our results and what we should get. And I understand the process of the long game of things, and I'm definitely more about focusing on the long term big picture, and getting there without sacrificing my health and my life. And I definitely believe in the balance of things. So I love that you approach your business the same way and understand the long-term benefits of things. And it's
Yeah.
just, a little bit here and there, that you don't have to, it's not an all or nothing mindset, which it's so hard to deprogram from when you are a woman that is in your hyper masculine, and even men too, that, stop at nothing and
Mhm.
like sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice. And it's like, no, there's actually another way.
Yeah.
So I love that you think that way too. So, yeah, thank you so much for your time. This was so insightful. Like, I'm still processing and integrating everything you said, and
Yeah.
probably going to go back and watch this call while I have my LinkedIn up and have a play around with things. So, do you, I'm sure you've already answered this before, but do you do like actual LinkedIn audits, or do you only do the packages?
Yeah, so right now what I do have like an audit package that I actually haven't been offering, but I've had like several people ask me. So
Mm,
I do offer audits too. The way that my audit works is like it's like a 3 session audit. So I don't know. I just find that like I'm about the integration. Like I've
mhm.
been in so many spaces, whether it's like a human design reading or like an audit or something, and they just kind of deliver you the information and then like you're on your own for integrating and there's no like revisions and sort of like, so my audits are a little bit different than just the one-time audit. I do like a 2 or 3 session audit with
Yeah.
like visions and we meet and we talk. So yeah, I
Yeah, that makes
definitely.
sense. That definitely makes sense. I'm the same way. I offer one-off calls, but then it comes with like a week of Voxer support, because you have other things that come up and you're like, oh, I should have asked that, or I should have,
Yes.
done this, or what about this? And you think of things later than just on that call. So I totally get it.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. Um, so yeah, I so
Cool.
listen, like I think I've said this to you before, but like now even really knowing like who your women are and also too like the mindset, like you mentioned women in their hyper masculine, like that is women on LinkedIn. Like
Mm-hmm.
there is such a like a gap for you that you could fill on LinkedIn of the work that
Mm-hmm.
you're doing. And there are women on there who need you, like who are
Mm-hmm.
in their hyper masculine and like they aren't aware, or maybe they are aware, but they just haven't found the person that can help, But um yeah, I just want to encourage you to just keep chipping away a little bit every week. And I'm here to support you however
Yeah.
I can. So let me know if you think of anything. I'm always happy to look over
Yes.
anything and just be here. Connect with me, comment on. I think too, a part of LinkedIn is finding those people who can be like power partners for you, right? So like
Mm.
we do different work. Like, someone who's going to hire me is not the same person who's going to hire you. So, like, go comment on my shit.
Mhm.
Like, go find those connections of people who I'm connected with, that you can connect
Yeah.
with and create like a little fan club of people who are going to always comment
Mm.
on your stuff. And like that's what it's really about, is like finding those real connections that you can make of people who like you genuinely enjoy their content. And it
Mhm.
makes sense for you to comment on their stuff because you share the same ICP. So it's going to be driving traffic. Like you commenting on my stuff is going to drive traffic to your content, and it's going to be the right people as well.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that I approach that with Instagram and Facebook too, and I encourage my clients to comment in certain groups that they're in and stuff. And I've had clients get clients from that, from their comments,
mhm.
because they stay there, and people search stuff and will search, in different Facebook groups for an answer to something, and will read their comment and then
Yeah.
reach out to them.
Yeah.
So,
And that's great on
it
LinkedIn
does
too.
work.
There's groups
Yeah.
on LinkedIn, like there's groups on LinkedIn. There's
Oh,
so you can do
okay.
the same thing, Like you could
Okay.
probably find a
Cool.
group of like She Leads is a group that I'm thinking of. I'm also thinking of the group Chief. That's who you need to look at. Look up the group Chief. It's
Okay.
it's literally high performing women who are like executive leaders, and it's all about like it's just will be a good network for you to comment in and like make some connections with people. So
Cool.
it's called,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I will. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well,
Thank you so
awesome.
much for your time again. And yeah, I guess when you get a chance, send me your links, and that way I can post them in the group and the Telegram chat.
Yeah.
And yeah, whenever you get a chance, if you could send me the recording so I could share it in the group would be awesome.
Would it be good if I, because I know sometimes like it doesn't let me send really long videos. Would it be helpful if I like uploaded it onto YouTube and then send you like the YouTube link? Would that
Yep,
be
that's one way you could do it. Can you
okay?
not send it via, how did we do it with another guest speaker? I think she sent it to me on Google Drive. Do you not have Google
I
Drive?
can do Google Drive. Yeah.
Yeah, because I run everything through Google.
Okay, perfect.